I have finally been able to see Disney's Wish. For whatever reason, it came out late in the UK, delayed by 2 days for some reason that only the distributors know. And sometimes when a movie is bad, and I mean really a real stinker, polishings will take place in between these regional differences. Sometimes when you know a movie is bad, you try to fix it to some capacity. Perhaps you'd even try to fix a movie before it goes into production, or sometime during the post-production stages. Clearly, that has not been the case for Disney's Wish. We knew this movie was terrible, and boy oh boy did they do absolutely nothing to stop that being a true reality. Now, when the first Disney Wish trailer actually came to us, I was pretty excited about it. It looked like a lovely blending between 2D and 3D elements that would be a nice homage for what is the 100th anniversary movie of all of Disney productions. And yet, that got deleted. No longer is this star character animated on 2D frames, such like a homage to the animation style fitting with the new trend of the likes of Mitchell's vs. Machines and Puss in Boots. No! It's all 3D. It's all flat. It's all bland. Now, I'm not a personal hater of this art style, but knowing that there are no 2D elements anymore, I can 100% understand why this just looks awful to people. The fact that every character has their own separate lighting physics to the rest of the world, and it's just a bit too bright and flat, really doesn't help the vibe that this whole movie has. I don't know if it's actually AI designed and generated with lyrics that are incredibly poorly made, but boy oh boy is this just Disney to a T 100 years later. Now, I came to this movie to see the very first screening that I could in the UK, in my local area, which for whatever reason was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, yet still filled with children that were bunking off school, I guess. Now, you can imagine, the very first showing, a room full of children, you would hear laughs at every kind of joke, you'd hear guffaws and way too much noise because none of these children have social norms understood yet. And their parents love being on their phones, right? Kind of. I would say that 95% of the kids in this room did not hook onto this movie. It is boring to them. And that's exactly it. This movie, as well as being flat and poorly produced, has no sense of magic involved in it. Now, maybe it comes from the cinema speakers or something. I found the whole film to be really quiet, especially when the movie came in. Is this a thing for everyone else? The music was really quiet, and there was no, it's not like a bassy issue, but they were practically whispering. I stopped eating popcorn about 25% of the way into the movie because I could not hear the lyrics under the sound of my own teeth crunching on soft popcorn. I didn't think I'd have a Tenet complaint about Disney Wish, but here we are. And then there's everything else about this movie. This is the 100th anniversary Disney movie. You would think that all of the best powers would come in to be the ultimate homage to everything Disney. You'd think they'd have the best of their lyricists come together, their ultimate musical talent involved, the best of actors and voice performers, and a story that blows away everything of the past 10 decades. But no, they didn't do that. Instead, what we get is as many references to archaic Disney stories past, slapped in haphazardly in an attempt to make it look vaguely palatable against an incredibly poorly produced story. Almost immediately, we're thrust into seeing our character Asha surrounded by 7 characters, just like a full ensemble cast, who you're not going to be able to connect to because you don't get any screen time with them. Until you realize about 2/3 of the way into the movie, they are based off of the 7 dwarfs. Now you can fill in the gaps of their characters. That one's got a big nose and he sneezes. Maybe a great simple character back in, the days of Snow White, but now it's lazy. Why are they here? Why is there so many? Why don't you give me an actual story instead of referencing old stuff and chucking it in there? You can find references to everything else. Peter Pan shows up. There's kind of the Dumbo ears reference. You see Mickey Mouse's ears several times in the movie. There's a Cinderella reference with the dress, probably the Sleeping Beauty moment with the vines. This movie is trying so hard to be like, hey look, wasn't this great? We did this! That it's not at all focusing on what's going on here. When we're introduced to this town, it's done in a song that's, for a start, very poorly done, incredibly quiet with practically no choreography, but also, it just feels like the first song in Encanto, done way worse, and again, there's no dancing in this bit. There's one shot of the ensemble doing a dance, the rest of it is her walking around pointing at things in the distance. None of this movie has dancing, really. There's small extracts. It's not choreographed. It's action with songs underneath. It's a waste of time is what it is. The character of Asha herself, incredibly bland. basic. She's just a generic Disney protagonist, a little bit kooky. Is my mouth drooping? Until she suddenly needs to be serious and never makes a joke again. Sure, whatever. But alright, let's go into this plot a little bit more chronologically, right? Asha is here to attempt to do an interview to being an apprentice to this sorcerer. She has no such skills that back it up, but she's going for it, in the hopes of getting the wishes of her family granted. King Magnifico is in control of all the wishes, and, we know this, whatever. All of this, of course, is told to us in a gigantic piece of exposition from Grumpy, the little tiny sassy kid at the bottom, exciting everything all at once, but they're not going to tell us who they are or anything like that. That's not important. Until eventually Asha has her interview with the king, right? Also, in the very beginning, there's like the classic book opening. They mention, for some reason, King Magnifico's loyal wife, and then blah, 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 blah. I, for the longest time, was expecting her to be involved in that line somehow. Like, maybe she's been hypnotized and that King Magnifico made a wish that this wife would be with him. We see no such backstory that builds onto the foundation of this world. We know bad stuff happened and that the origin originated the town. We don't see any of it. We don't see any kind of depth. It's just, this is the reality. Don't ask questions. Loyal wife. What's her name? I don't know. The book didn't want to tell us, so I haven't paid attention. Asha comes in, and as you've probably seen from the trailers, gets in a bit of a scuffle with the king over the fact that most of these wishes will never be granted. They also, though, they did polish slightly this movie. The line of some of these wishes will never be granted, most of them won't be. That's not in the movie. They retconned that. I guess, to be fair, to fix this movie is a bit bigger than a simple line change. This is a broken production. Perfectly terrible, but we'll get there as we get there. We come to learn that there's a forbidden, evil, super bad book. Don't know where the king got it. We know it's behind a spell of flying glass, and also that never comes back because he just opens it himself later. It's just basically a Chekhov's gun that they just shove in there. No, yeah, my god, the more I think about it, the worse this gets. No backup, no repercussions, it doesn't come back, the spell doesn't. It's just the thing that makes the plot worse later on to explain nothing. But as we see this magical hallway with all of the wishes, wow, it's beautiful. It doesn't look that great in this, wish filter, but sure, the lighting's on. But then, as we come to our second song, singing about these wishes or whatever, we come to a flaw that I rag on terrible movies for doing. I have mentioned it time and time again over these months and years, and I can't believe it's in a Disney movie. The 100th anniversary Disney movie does this. Jesus Christ! The king starts singing, talking to the wishes in his own little, wow, this is great. I don't know what he was singing about. I've forgotten it already. And then the background blurs away. Suddenly, he's no longer singing amongst the bubbles, doing whatever he wants in this hallway. He is instead just singing in front of a flat, blurry, grey, kind of bluey backdrop. So many shots go back to no room at all. He's just singing in the void. It is the cheapest and easiest trick to make your animation easy, boring, and so obviously terrible in the grand scheme of things. Additionally, we see the little animations inside of the wishes, the little bubbles, that's lovely. They reuse them all. There's one of a lady wanting to fly. I assume she's Wendy from Peter Pan. They show her again and again and again. Sure, because you gotta remember she exists for a payoff at the end, but also, it's just reusing animation. In this song, we see a handful of wishes, but I want to see more. I want to expand what everyone could possibly wish for, and they don't. When we come back to wishes being granted near the end, spoilers, we come to 3 people solved with our eyes, and it's the ones we kept seeing closest to Asha. Show me expand, because this is so shallow. But if there is a hint of choreography I enjoy, I like how King Magnifico is controlling all the wishes, while, I was gonna call her Mirabelle. Asha is out there, and they clump towards her as she pushes away to find her grandpa's wish. Whoa, that's nice, I guess. Balls. Anyway, upon this reveal that the king is not going to grant the wish of her grandpa, they have a scuffle, they get upset because every wish could potentially be a threat, yada yada, sure, okay. And in a big wishing ceremony, the king grants not the 100-year-old's wish. I would have thought the public would be concerned a little sooner. Like, how does it take 100 years for someone to not get their wish granted, and now it's a problem? Do people not know he exists? Like, everyone should know this and be asking politically, what about these people? What about my son? He turned 18 4 years ago. Where's his wish? Where's mine? Like, Where, like, if this world was built yesterday, maybe it makes sense that they haven't gotten their wish yet. But everyone's been waiting years. They should be perturbed way sooner. This movie has no depth. An additional element to the wish as well is that the king makes them forget that desire they had. That really is the crux of the issue, because people forget what they wished for to remain complacent, yet a little part of them missing. With this twist, they don't have the ability to go out and make their wish a reality themselves, because they don't even remember what their desire is. That's interesting. Expand, please! But no, instead, Asha goes home and reveals the idea that their wishes will never be granted because of the king. And instead of being upset at the king, they're upset at the messenger themselves. A weak conflict, a fake idea, it moves the plot vaguely. Which then leads us into the biggest song of the movie, More Than This. Asha wants more, she desires, she is a Disney princess. This song is okay. None of the songs are good, none of the songs are great, none of the songs are excellent. Okay is the top of our barrier. To be honest,
There's a wish to have something more for us than this.
this song kind of wraps it all up. She wishes upon a star and the star comes down. That's an interesting element to the magic system. King over here is a sorcerer that learned how to do it himself. Asha does it the more archaic way, more in tune with nature. It doesn't get expanded either. I don't know how the magic works. Only he has magic. Is there more stars? Is it because that's how it used to be in the older... I don't know. This is the most unmagical magical movie. This star would have been beautiful in 2D. Nope, it's 3D. Of course it is. It's just a Luma from Super Mario Galaxy. Wahoo. It sprinkles wishes upon all the animals and they're able to talk. But also, maybe it's not wishes. The star gets upset that Asha says, hey, could you grant my wish? And it's like, no. And Asha concludes, oh, but it will help me achieve my wish. A theme, sure. Get the wish yourself. Pull up your bootstraps, whatever. But then you can clearly see before that comment that the goat is talking to the star as if asking for a wish to be able to talk. And the star grants them that wish. Was it not a wish? Is it just that it happened to sprinkle the ability to speak in English? I'm pretty sure that's a wish. The animal was granted a wish. Asha was not. Because plot. It's not even a theme. There are no themes to this movie. This movie has nothing to say. It's just, watch this, kid. But we'll get to that when we get to the ending. Then all the animals start singing. This I kind of liked the theme of, if I have to extract a theme. The idea that we're all made of stardust is a really cool point. All of life is connected in some way. Beautiful. Now, maybe they didn't want to show anything because also they're kind of teetering on the line of evolution and they don't want to upset all of their audience, so they kept things as safe and vague as possible. I don't know, but the song is, you know, they have some little cheeky references to bulls again, much like Anna sings about ballrooms with no balls. The goat's balls show up on screen, hidden by clothes, I should confirm, when they mention bulls. I don't know why Disney likes bull-specifically related jokes, but there it is. As well as a couple other references now to the older Disney movies, like a deer being called Bambi and a bear being called John. You know, like Robin Hood. I feel like Disney put more attention into these references than the actual story, but that's obvious, right? The moment that the king feels threatened, that another wish has happened that's clearly a threat to them, they start leaning towards the evil magic book, but are stopped by their loyal wife, of whom I know not their name. I really liked the idea. I had this headcanon the whole time that the wife was just a servant to the king because she was hypnotized by a wish. Are there any limitations to a wish? Is this the genie logic of Aladdin? You can't ask for love? I don't know! I did actually hear a murmur that there was an idea for the king and queen to be villains. A villain couple would have been a nice new direction. At the same time, it is kind of refreshing to have a king that's evil just for the sake of being evil. Kind of, but also there's no real motivation and it doesn't work. Anyway, one of the 7 dwarfs, Bashful, is a very quiet, introverted kid who pops up because she's so silent, like Monsters University, and then that's the joke there. One of the other kids, I don't know if it's Sneezy or something, looks exactly like the guy from Strange World. Is that a reference or poor character design? You decide! Disney didn't. Dopey's big flappy ears also flap kind of like Dumbo. I'm sure that's a reference somewhere. Anyway, Asha reveals the star secret to the cast of 7. Exposed by that giant chicken dance sequence that I don't think anyone in the room enjoyed. I was in a room full of children, they didn't care either. They weren't laughing at the chickens dancing. It's kind of done. It's kind of a bit like, they laughed when the goat said shark later on. It's also at this point we somewhat learn, if you're paying way too much attention and manage to piece the pieces together, that because Simon's a certain age, one of the sleepy ones, he's already given his wish to the king. So everyone at age 18 gives away a wish? This isn't, like, explained. Expand! Anyway, there's a beat about Usher going to steal the wishes of her family to return them to him, because then they at least can have more of their souls back together. It makes them feel full or whatever. To which the king has, like, ordered people to go find the traitor, yada yada. He should have said among us, not amongst us. Come on, you were missing out on so many memes, Disney. It's free marketing. And in that sequence, we then get all the more references. Mickey Mouse's starts being drawn on itself with a feather. There's Fantasia references with props moving themselves with magic. Cinderella dress in one of the wishes. Dumbo ears. You know, all these things. Bring it. This is all they care about. The townspeople start asking how the specifics of the wishes go. What happens if you want to change your wish? Why can't we see the wishes? Why can't we remember them? What if someone says, I wish for my uncle to be not dead? I don't know if that is a wish, but surely someone asked something stupid like that. Surely it wouldn't be something that would actually be a threat to the kingdom because they had to submit it to the king themselves at age 18. I mean, yeah, I get it. He's paranoid, but like, there's so much frustrating about this movie. And the worst part is this movie has potential. There are themes you can stitch together. There are points you could make that are brilliant. But this movie hasn't tried anything in any direction. There is nothing original about this movie because it's rehashing all the old tropes of the last 100 years rather than pushing us on to a new century. That's the crux issue at the core of this movie. And I'm pretty sure Disney knew that this movie was bad because there's been no marketing for it leading up to this. There's just been the occasional teaser trailer and it's vague. They've been hiding this under the rug, and I don't think it's necessarily like an issue with the strikes, like actors and writers not being able to market. I'm sure that contributed, but also any writing strikes would have started long after this was produced. I can't believe Disney has fallen this far down. So Usher successfully steals one wish, and then we get the king singing his "This is the thanks I get." This is like as bad as it gets. This is the pit of songwriting. You've heard all these complaints before, right? The AI generated sounding lines like, I let you live here for free and I don't even pay you rent. I'm always there when you need to vent, but he's not because he's the king and he doesn't talk to anyone very often. So many lines don't really rhyme, or some songs have lines with more syllables in one line than another, and it just grinds my gears. And there is actually a reason for why the songs in this movie are so bad. You would think for the 100-year anniversary, you would bring together all your best talents for the songs. Get the songwriters and lyricists from Frozen. Get Lin-Manuel Miranda back in it. It doesn't matter. They make good stuff. The people that are actually making the songs do not have a history in musical songwriting. They have history in the music industry for like music videos and somewhat like vaguely Disney adjacent projects. It's not Disney knowledge though. They don't have the Disney knowledge. And to be fair, with the latest Disney Thanksgiving post being this image, which is totally not AI generated to a certain extent, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to fill in the gap with AI anyway. Or that AI made it first and then someone polished it later. Both this image and the songs in this movie. A catastrophic failure of a test is what this movie is. What a wonderful legacy for the 100-year anniversary. Hey, by the way, you're at the halfway mark of this video, so if you're interested in subscribing, do it now. We're actually getting kind of close to 500,000 subscribers, which is absurd, so if you'd like to help me out, I would genuinely really appreciate that. I'd like to get there at the end of the year. We'll see. Anyway, don't feel forced, but do give it a consider if you want to see more movie news or new movie reviews. Anyway, back to Disney Wish. Quality. But we're not even halfway through the damn movie yet. This song is when the king then immediately starts using the bad Chekhov's book magic. And it's vaguely nice that the instrumental disappears when he sings and like opens the book, but it's not that great. Whilst at the same time, he's spending the whole time being like, I wonder who the traitor is. Has there been anyone that would possibly disagree with me and grate against my gears? How's about the one other character I've shared a room with this entire movie beyond my wife? He doesn't come to that conclusion. What's wrong with him? But hey, his face at the end of that song's nice. He's evil. There's all sorts of cracked faces along the mirrors. There's a theme of mirrors in him. Expand that somehow. They just reused the mirror idea multiple times in the movie. That counts, I guess. Now, as Usher returns to the family and returns her grandpa's wish, the king appears and crushes the mum's wish, finding new power in doing so and making her feel a deep sense of grief and sadness for herself. And then they escape on a royal white horse, maybe that's a reference to Tangled, I don't know, and they boat away off to a deserted little island off to the corner, This island, man. Think about it. What was the point of the island? So they wanted to get away from the king, right? Does this island have any significance to the past? No. There was a moment of a dad looking up at the stars with Usher in the past on a tree. Maybe it should have been there. It would be more thematic, like this is our safe place. Maybe it would have been nice if we saw the island and maybe like they came to a discovery. They found the old shipwreck they mentioned in the origins and see something that could break the curse. I don't know, whatever. Instead, they boat over to this island, they don't reach it, and Asha leaves to go back to sort out her unfinished business, leaving her family on the island to safety. But spoilers, I'm gonna jump ahead here. The family don't go to the island either. They just turn around and teleport to the final climactic moment at the end of the movie. So what was the point of the... why do anything? But hey, this is where the shark joke comes in. The kids laughed the one time when the goat said shark out loud randomly, and then they did the same. The king now discovers a new upgrade to his magic, creating a kind of staff using the power of 3 different wishes, as he's far more open to crushing the dreams of his fellow people, and going so far as to threaten his wife, who's feeling a little hesitant. And as the king makes yet another announcement, we reveal the idea that Simon is the one that exposed Asha and is why the king knows that she's the traitor. I'm almost interested. And because he was the one to oust her, he gets his wish granted for being the strongest, greatest knight of all. It would have been really interesting if maybe this wish was false. Earlier on, the king says, why doesn't anyone ever wish to be my ultimate perfect apprentice? And then he could have used that to say, hey, this person asked for to be my ultimate special apprentice. And then, like, you can briefly see Simon be like, oh, no, that wasn't my wish. And then he turns into the thing, you know. That would have been slightly more interesting. It didn't go anywhere. Anyway, Simon now gets turned evil by the magic as well, and calls out the other 6 traitors, so they go into hiding. They then have a lovely dance song that's incredibly poorly done. It feels like musical theater kids just doing something quietly in a basement, because that is basically what they're doing, and it doesn't work. And then the queen teleports to their secret sanctuary. I don't remember where that sanctuary was, but she knows where it is. They're there now. Alright, the wife has popped up to join the revolution. The king then continues to crush dreams that are just direct homages to different Disney movies, Neverland and Peter Pan, True Love's Kiss and all that. And Asha ends up looking like a fairy godmother with a giant hood and a giant apple and a wand. As they all sneak up on the king, them going to the king's quarters and Usher out on the forest to be a distraction. There's an element of Peter Pan's fairy dust making the kids fly. Doc, the one with the glasses, and the wife are trying to break the forbidden spell in the book, and then they come to the conclusion, oh, he can't be saved. He is committed to the evil magic. Forget about him. He's a flat character that's evil for some vague reason and then becomes evil from the book, and he can't be saved either. Forget the elements of trust from Raya and the Last Dragon. It's just, screw him. So why'd they even try? They try to pull open the roof to let the wishes out. Usher's being chased. We vaguely hear the Tarzan scream as they jump from the ropes. And then as Asha is cornered by the king, it turns out it's actually Simon using transformation magic. Again, not really established. The magic system in this is so poorly expanded. None of it works, makes sense, or is done well. The magic we see from the sorcerer is green bars, green hands, and fly glass. And then on the star front, it's sprinkling talking and sprinkling flight. And there's like no interesting magic. This magical movie is so magically void. Disney has lost all of its magic decades ago at this rate. I haven't enjoyed a Disney movie thoroughly since Moana. How has this happened? Anyway, Simon is bested by the bear named John from Robin Hood, mauled to death by a million rabbits, but also survives later completely unharmed. All the wishes are let free, but caught by a bubble because the king is in fact still at the king's quarters because it was all a detour with Mr. Simon over there. Now, full on evil and happy to attack his own townspeople, he grabs Usher in front of the public and vines everybody to the ground. Where is this going? Why has he done that? I don't know, but remember Usher's family off on the island boat? Yeah, so they decided to turn around when the bubbles appeared out of the roof, and they teleported all the way to the castle courtyard by the time it takes for the guy to put it all in one big bubble and then zap everyone into vines in the ground. It just, oh my god, I hate there is nothing positive in this movie. I can't find it. The wish star is also caught in the big bubble. The king does a whole mirror, mirror on the wall thing, and he decides that there is to be no more hopes or dreams, vining everyone up to look like a reference to Sleeping Beauty. Apparently, I haven't seen it. And so the turnaround as the king's gone completely evil and everyone's trapped and knows he's bad and whatever. The final, after everything conclusion is to solve this issue with the power of singing and friendship. I love the theme that everyone comes from stardust, so every individual person is some element of a star. But it just is so cringe, mate. It becomes just like a strange mob dance that everyone knows the lyrics of multiple songs that Usher's been singing in private. They come to the conclusion that their stardust magic power combined is stronger than the power of this super beefed up sorcerer king, of which they had no idea was in them in the first place, so now they know everything. They can reference how they want more than this, and also that we are all stars, and it's so bad, man. And nobody can dance because they're strapped into vines. There's no choreography other than the king going, ah, slap, get down on the ground. Give it a minute, say a couple bars of song, ah, slam, get back on the ground. And then oh my god, it's such a crappy Disney parody of an ending. Will be greater than his magic combined? Right. And then the star is released from the spear because he gets incorporated with the spear, whatever. The king briefly becomes a mirror face, getting sucked into the spear himself. All wishes are now granted, and we come to our happy ending. Again, is there any nuance to this? What if a wish clashed with another wish? What if someone said, I wish someone to fall in love with me? One of the wishes is, I want to have a nice, happy family. Were they already established? Or is that woman now cursed to live a cursed, wished life for being this person's husband to bear 2 of his children because she wished him to have children with him? Does anything go wrong? I'm not saying that B-movie is a better movie, but B-movie at least addressed that maybe the happy conclusion doesn't turn out to be such a happy conclusion, you know? Even the wishes broken by the king are revived because this is a perfect Disney story and they can just come back out of his heart. Oh no, wait, sorry. Okay, maybe that solves things. Not really. All the wishes are returned to the people rather than actually granted. But a lot of them are granted in their super ending, so what do I know? Simon says he's sorry. I don't know how I'm supposed to do the sorry, but alright. Saying he was so scared to have to live without all of him. Sure. The king is trapped in a mirror and put in the dungeon, to which he's like, oh no, the dungeon smells really bad. And all of the 4-year-olds are already asleep because this movie hasn't entertained them up to this point to hear this incredibly crappy joke. The town comes to the conclusion that they never needed Magnifico. Magsnifico? That's literally one of the final lines in the movie. We then get more blatant tick-boxing references, like Wendy being introduced to Peter Pan because he wants to build a flying machine and she wants to fly, in case you didn't know, because we reused that animation 3 or 4 times in the same wish bubble instead of showing other wishes to show more expanse and diversity of the story. Someone else dreams of a world where mammals are equal. Haha, that's a Zootropolis reference. And the grandpa plays to the crowd, wanting to inspire the next generation. It would have been great. Here's an idea. The king was worried that the grandpa's wish to inspire the next generation would actually be to make a mob rebellion against the king, right? It would have been cool if that actually ended up happening because of the king's actions. Wow, fate. Isn't that funky? You know what else would have been nice? If we even knew what the wish of the mother was at all. Usher went to save 2 wishes. We know one of them. They didn't tell us the other one. Usher then becomes the fairy godmother, not just in visuals because we saw it and could pick it out for ourselves an hour ago. Now they're like, you should be our fairy godmother. You get it? Then the grumpy guy's like, and you wonder why I'm grumpy? In case you didn't get it. To be fair, I was a bit slow on that one, but I could at least tell that he was grumpy before the end. And as a final conclusion, they say, how do we thank the star? It has to go back up there, because otherwise it's going to cause incredible solar damage for disappearing for an hour and a half in the sky, because, you know, it is meant to be a giant flaming ball, I guess. And the conclusion is, you've just got to keep wishing. There is no theme about go out there and get your wish for yourself. There is no theme of maybe just spread love or some crappy Disney motive. It's just keep dreaming, buddy. That'll make the star happy, and maybe it'll happen if you happen to be a pretty generic, lovely princess, doof-lord, singing at the right place at the right time after a minor tragedy. This whole movie was a drama surrounding a town, and even then, it's a hill with a tower and a castle courtyard on it. There is no scale to this movie. It doesn't feel large to any capacity. Nobody's taken over the world. It's just a corner of an island with a guy. The factions are the king and the queen, and then Usher and her 7 friends, and then a star and a goat that are around. They don't really contribute to the plot. That goat's just there to tell crappy jokes that the kids aren't paying attention to, so you don't see any external characters. Okay, I guess there's 2 family members. The townspeople are just the same 3 people. It's just like so nothing, man. And to really finish it off, the final fireworks are shaped in the Mickey Mouse ears. There's a rainbow over the castle like the intro. The soundtrack is vaguely like that Pinocchio song, When You Wish Upon a Star. And the credits are full of constellations, sprinkles of all past Disney protagonists. The wife was not hypnotized. They didn't try to save the king. They didn't say an element of, oh, he was corrupted by the book, so let's make him good again. No, screw that guy. This movie has, in all directions, the most shallowest form of Disney depth I can find and imagine. This movie is as magical as the FNAF movie is scary. If you love Disney, you'll pick out the references. I know I was like, John the Bear from Robin Hood. That was the peak of the movie, pointing out at a guy and saying John. If you're a Disney fan, you'll love the references. Maybe. If you like good storytelling, you're not gonna like this movie. Disney over the past few years has really been a cesspit of poor quality, clearly crumbling over their own weight, covering way too many franchises at once, and making crappy live-action reboots, and now even their animation is just schmuck. They don't know what they're doing anymore. They're more interested in AI producing the whole thing instead, overworking and underpaying their people. After all, they are one of the bigwigs that made the strikes last as long as they did. I just want bigger scale to this movie. I want a flashback backstory. Could have been a twist that the villain did something bad as a foundation and he's just protecting the kingdom in a defensive way after doing a big bad. He references a scroll that has his family stolen by thieves. Show it to me! The villain needed more. I liked that he was evil for evil's sake, but he also was so bland and flat, like the lighting in this goddamn movie. I liked some of the ideas. The idea of wishes is great, especially for a 100-year story. And the fact that they're all stardust, but it was all so poorly executed. It felt methodical and formulaic in every way. I'm sure this 100-year anniversary movie had the strictest tick box of all Disney movies, but it could not have ended up as more of a square of a project. They didn't draw 2D on top of it. They needed that hybrid element. It would have been brilliant. The kids in my room were not paying attention to this movie. 20 minutes in and they'd all switched off. And I couldn't even hear the music under the sound of popcorn. You could have expanded in so many different directions with some of the things that were brought up. How about the fact that the wishes clump towards Usher as if she's naturally entwined with the ability of magic, rather than being controlled by power that the king has? But no, that doesn't get expanded. What if there was somebody malicious that had a malicious wish and it came true? No, none of that. Instead, we just get a complete nothing movie. It has nothing to say, it's here only to entertain the children and adults in one part because they show a goat's balls behind some pants. There's no deeper meaning or theme for adults to resonate with. It's just child entertainment that is done so poorly that not even the children are paying attention. Welcome to Disney, 100 years of wondering how they could screw it up next. But hey, we knew that since the moment Chris Pine opened his mouth. I'm sure the staff are incredibly talented. The voice acting was great, the animation was animated, but everybody was mismanaged. Because the magic at the core of Disney is very demonstrably gone. This is Disney's Wish It Never Came Out, and for now, my name's been Daz. You didn't really care. Disney's Wish is a certified terrible movie. It's almost enjoyable, ironically, but the saddest part is it's mostly just mediocre. And that's a fate even worse than flop. And I'll see you in a little bit.